Lately, I've been encountering a lot of content around this idea of doing things because you love doing them versus doing things because you want people to see it. The idea of making art to become famous versus making art because you love making art. And something I've been thinking a lot about that is like, I enjoy people's responses and reactions and interactions with the things that I make. I think, and I used to always tell my friends this, they'd be like, oh, I just love making music so much. And they would be like so stressed out about putting it out and how people would react to the music. And they're like, oh, I'm so nervous to put the music out. And they're like, I just love making music, so like I'm cool whether or not people like it or don't. I'm like, great, just put it out and see what happens then. You don't, if you're unattached to the reaction to your music and you just want to make music, then do that. If you're unattached to making, like having a reaction from your art and being quote unquote successful at art, then just put it out or don't put it out. Make it, leave it on your computer, listen to it when you want. Make it, leave it in your house, hang it up, give it to your mom, whatever. Like, that's cool. I feel like we are often villainized for wanting success in our creative works. It almost feels like people do this thing to you where if you aspire to be successful as a creative, then you are turning your back on being an artist. And it's interesting how people who exist in the business of the things often don't think about the thing itself, the music business, the art business, whatever. But the people who create it are often thinking about that thing. And not only that, but they have to consider making good art as opposed to making art that sells well. I think you can make good art that sells well, but focusing on making good art should always be the priority. And I think that's the part that people end up getting inadvertently villainized for. I have a few songs that I made and I'm just like, man, I can't wait to play these songs for lots of people. But I feel like the songs don't work when it's for a little bit of people in a room. Is that so bad? Am I so bad? Something else on those lines, thinking about success. I saw a video today and it was talking about how there are people who make things and what they are really looking for is to be recognized, not necessarily to make the thing. And there are people who will do whatever for recognition or for status or for like being talked about. And that may be rooted in some sort of insecurity and how a lot of people who are aiming for that greatness are actually insecure. But the whole thing about being great and appearing great is that you have to look confident. I think that there is a difference between like looking like something and actually being that thing. I always use the phrase, there's a difference between effortlessness and not trying. And to look like you're not trying is different than to not try. And I think to look confident is different than to be confident. We're just living in interesting times. I'm having an interesting time. Time overall is just crazy. I'm mixing a bunch of songs. By the next episode of Yards, there should be a Worst Generation song out featuring myself and Kaiser. For anyone who's looking at my shirt, People Equal Shit, Eyeless, what else? Iowa. Like there are more. I know many more. I'm like an old Slipknot fan. I'm like when I was in high school, Slipknot fan. So I'm only naming stuff off the first two albums. The self-titled and Iowa, both bangers. So don't try to come for me. If you see me in a Slipknot t-shirt, name 5 Slipknot songs. Name your mama. Catch you next week.